person tonight, and we might get that message. We might be able to apply it to our life. We thank you, Lord, for anointing on this meeting, Lord, that again, you would be recognized. And we desperately need you. We are frail and weak, and Lord, we admit that tonight. But you are all in all, and we thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
All right, for our consent agenda, we have the City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, March 22nd, 2016, as well as the City Commission special meeting minutes for Wednesday, March 30th, 2016, and the 2016 appropriation ordinance number AO1607 in the amount of $3,261,067.48. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
I second.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Mayor Powell to approve the consent agenda as presented. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor Powell.
Aye. All right, we will now have the Cottonville Public Library annual report. Katie Hill with the Cottonville Public Library will make comments.
Good evening. Oh.
Oops.
Okay, I've already presented the mayor and commissioners with a copy of the annual report, which is also going around to the audience here. It will be also made available online on our website at coffeyvillepl.org for those of you at home, or you can pick up a physical copy at the library. I really just wanted to take the opportunity tonight to give you an update as to what the library has been doing. So obviously this is our 2015 report, so this is the highlights of our past year. So the very first thing that you'll notice on that front page is a story about the MiFi devices. That is a new service that we started offering in 2015. It was a pilot project. It was sponsored by New York Public Library and the State Library of Kansas. They selected 18 libraries in the state, and we happened to be one of them. And so it was a completely free program for us. They paid for everything, all of the devices. They funded 7 devices for us to circulate throughout the community. We circulated them. One patron got 1 device at a time for a week at a time, and it has unlimited data. And I went ahead and brought an example for you guys to look at. It comes in this nice little box. It doesn't have the charger. This one's broken, so you're not going to hurt it. But it's just a little device, and it puts off a Wi-Fi signal. So people can take this home and have internet at home. So, this program was incredibly popular. The device is circulated over 273 times throughout the course of 2015. It was so popular that we decided to incorporate this into our regular services even after the conclusion of the grant, which was at the end of December 2015. We wrote a grant to the Community Foundation, the Coffeyville Area Community Foundation, which then allowed us to fund this through 2016. So we're good. We're still circulating devices. They're still incredibly popular. There's over 30 people on the waiting list right now. So we want to try and continue this even past 2016, which we're looking into how to fund this for the future. Moving on, the other thing that I wanted to bring up is our library visits. It was actually Commissioner Williams that brought this up last year when I was here, as to how we calculate our visitors each year. At the time, we took an average. So we would borrow some door counters from the Southeast Kansas Library System. We would do that 4 times a year and then average the numbers out. Obviously not the most accurate way to do things. So his inquiry prompted me to purchase our own door counters. And it turns out that that was not an accurate count. Last year we had 93,705 people walk in our building. That was up from over 9,000 more from our previous estimates. So, you know, we are a very hopping place, have a lot of people coming in the door each day. That's over 310 people on average that come in to visit the library every day. So, also in there is some pictures of our summer reading program. That is obviously also a very popular event for the kids as well as adults. We offer both programs for the children. We also incorporated a tween program this past year. So that's the age where they're not quite teenagers, but they're not quite the little kids anymore. So we call them tweens. We had a young adult program as well as an adult program. We offered over 46 programs for the kids this past summer, and had over 1,400 attend those programs that we offered in a short 2-month time period. We also had over 200 adults take part in our summer reading program. Another thing I wanted to point out is the number of items that circulated this past year. Even though most people believe that libraries are dying because of the internet, it's the opposite. We're just transforming our services and what we offer. So last year we had 95,953 items that circulated in 2015, and that was up over 5,000 items from the year before. The types of items that circulate are changing throughout the time, from last year to this year and even a decade ago. We're seeing more circulations of our media, so DVDs, audiobooks, things of that nature. And then the final thing that I really wanted to point out to you is you flip through to the very middle section, so right where your staple goes through. At the very top of that is just a brief little paragraph, and it's talking about the amount of money that the library saves the community of Coffeyville. So based on our circulation stats, the program attendance, how many times our community room is used, how many times our computers are used, all of the different things that we calculate as to how the citizens of Coffeyville use the library, we saved the community $1.4 million. So what that means is if a citizen had to go out and buy a book because they really wanted to read this book, that's $25-some that they would have been spending who knows where to buy that book, when you can get it at the library for free. So you calculate that with everything that we offer, that's $1.4 million that the citizens of Coffeyville are able to spend somewhere else, hopefully locally, shopping in our stores, in our restaurants, etc. So that's a very important number to focus on because we are a very valuable asset for the community of Coffeyville. The last thing that I wanted to point out is that, and the reason why I'm here tonight, is that it is National Library Week, all week this week. So we're doing a lot of things to celebrate. We just had a ribbon cutting for our genealogy room this afternoon. I also have, you 5 are going to get some bookmarks with different sayings. So I'll let you pick out which one you want, but it's the Libraries Transform campaign. So it's how libraries transform your life. So the first one that I have here, I'll just read one. It says, libraries transform because more than a quarter of U.S. households don't have a computer with an internet connection, which is very accurate for our community. So I'll give these to you guys. Figured I should come with these. Okay, that's really all I wanted to point out, but do you guys, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about library services or how we did in 2015.
How much does having college right next door to you open up new services for you or new patrons?
It does. The Coffeyville Community College does have a library of their own, so they offer their students their own services over there, but they are more academically based, and so if college students, we usually see them come to us for more of the entertainment type circulation, so a fiction book that they want to read or a DVD, something of that nature, they're going to come to us.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Just real brief for your financial report. I mean,
Yes.
I don't really want to get into it a whole lot, but how you doing there?
Doing just fine. Doing just fine. Obviously, the amounts there are, it incorporates not just what we get through tax revenue, but also through our other funding sources.
Right.
So we do get grants and state aid from the State Library of Kansas, from the Southeast Kansas Library System. And so that helps to pad our budget a little bit. I was very pleased. We did have to tap into savings in 2014 to help with some of the renovations. And so I was very pleased. We tightened our belt a little bit this past year, and so we were able to put some of that money back into our savings account for our rainy day fund, and also to help with future projects for renovation, furniture, things of that nature.
Thank you, Katie.
All right, thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will now have comments from the public. Public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. In addition, public participation is welcome and encouraged for all items on the agenda as the topics are discussed. Please address comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may also wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes.
I just want to tell you about two exciting things that I'm proud of our people in Coffeyville. The sign coming in 169 from the south that has all of your clubs like Kiwanis and Rotary and those listed on it had been completely, you just couldn't see it. I got a new sign to put on the Kiwanis because I'm a Kiwanis, and I talked to Mr. Bradshaw and I said, we sure need to cut that shrub down where we can see that sign. I came by there today and it's just beautiful. You can read it. My second thank you goes to the electric company. Saturday, while I was in my backyard, I discovered there was a tree in the backyard across the alley from me that was falling. It was falling into the neighbor's backyard. Both houses currently are vacant. So I reported to the police office there is a tree falling, and it is against an electric line, and there's nobody that lives there. I think the electric department should come check it out. They came out, checked it out, and removed the limb so that it was safe for our city. And today the poor boys chopped up the limbs. So it's all taken care of. Thank you to both departments. Good job.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, any other comments from the public? All right, we will now move on to old business. Ordinance number S-1604, a second reading of an ordinance to vacate a portion of Pine Street. And there are no changes from the first reading. Is that correct?
Move to approve ordinance number 16-04.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve ordinance number S-16-04 for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
All right, moving on to new business. We will have discussion and action to appoint one person to a 3-year term on the Planning Commission, serving to January 1st, 2019, and the applicant is John Alvey. City Clerk Cindy Price will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, we did have one application. This is for an outside the city limit position. John Alvey submitted his application. I did notify him. He is not here tonight to make any comments.
It's not necessary this year. Is it?
It's been a custom in the past that when the person's appointed to any board, that they appear before the commission and at least make some type of public statement why they want to participate and represent the people of the city. I think that it's I'd like to see us keep that tradition.
I will notify John and verify that he can come to the next meeting, and at the next meeting that he's able to come, we'll put this back on the agenda.
Okay,
So we'll just postpone this one.
very good. Okay, we will have discussion and action to appoint 2 people to 4-year terms on the Public Library Board, serving to April 30th, 2020. Applicants Gary Bailey and Sue Rudzinski. City Clerk Cindy Price will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, we actually have 3 openings on this board. 2 is for 2 4-year terms, and 1 is for an unexpired term. We had 2 applicants. Both of the applicants, Gary and Sue, are here tonight and will make comments.
Gary, would you like to start?
I'd like to ask one question while he comes up here. You said there's 2 4-year terms and an unexpired term.
Correct.
Which one did you apply for? The 4-year or the unexpired?
4-year.
All right.
And actually, we didn't separate those. That would be your choice on how you want to fill it. Since you've got 2 applicants and 2 4-year terms,
Well,
I would recommend that they get the 4-year.
I'd recommend that
4-year
they
term.
give whichever one they want.
Okay. Well, I was appointed to the library board in 2012, so I'm applying for appointment to a 2nd term. I'm serving as vice president right now of the board. Mostly routine. We've had some interesting meetings. We have a kind of a twofold responsibility. One is to the taxpayers of the city of Coffeyville to make sure that their tax dollars are spent right and spent wisely. And then the other is to the patrons of the library to make sure they get the services that they want from their library. And Katie does a great job in both areas. We set policy and she carries it out.
I don't have any questions. Thank you, Gary,
Yeah,
for
thank you,
applying.
Gary. Sue, would you like to come up?
It's Rudzinski. You did a nice job.
Apologies.
Some of you up there could probably spell it if I had your children. This is why I want to be on the board. I mean, my word, look at all the things that happen. As a retired educator, it seemed like a nice fit. We started the Imagination Library, and the library here was so supportive of that program that this just seemed like the ideal place. The library in today's society, as Katie said, isn't the library of my day when you went in to check out a book. It's a media center now, and our library in Coffeyville is a huge part of the community, and I just want to be a part of that. They do a wonderful job.
Excellent.
You want the 4-year term?
Oh, yes, please.
All right.
We don't commit to anything longer than that, retired people.
I don't have any questions. I move to approve both both applicants to the library board
For 4-year term.
for 4-year terms.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to appoint Sue Rudzinski and Gary Bailey to the Library Board, serving to April 30th, 2020. Mayor Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Did you notice how I said applicants and try to stay away from the names?
From the names.
Yeah.
All right, Resolution R-1659, a resolution to purchase various types of insurance coverage for the city of Coffeyville. Finance Director Stephanie Richardson will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, the city goes through the process of bidding out our insurance policy once every 3 years. We are in the 2nd year of that process. We took it out for bids last year and awarded it to One Beacon Insurance through Arthur J. Gallagher as the broker. This year, as I mentioned, we're in the 2nd year of this 3-year process. They did send our renewal quote back, and it's virtually the same as what it was last year. We did receive a 3-year rate guarantee from the policy last year, provided that our losses aren't over 50%, which we've done a good job with that, so they were able to offer the same rate for this year. This covers all of our various insurance policies, with the exception of the electric department facilities. We do have that on a separate policy, which renews in September. Our airport liability, which renews in January, workers' comp, which is January 1, and our flood insurance, which is in September. Another type of insurance policy that they're recommending that we look at this year is a cyber liability policy. Staff is working with the insurance company on that to put together some quotes on a premium and the type of coverage that it has. So we'll be bringing that back to you at another meeting to kind of go through that coverage. As I stated, this year the quote is the same as last year, $262,925. We budgeted a 10% increase for insurance, so this is a savings to us budget-wise. So we would recommend accepting this proposal and having coverage again this year with Arthur J. Gallagher and One Beacon Insurance. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Stephanie, I'm just curious, on that 50%, is that blended? Is that, or does each policy, you have to not have any losses over 50%, and then that policy goes up, or is it blended? Is it 50% aggregate, or is it 50% independently?
I think it's independently.
Okay, I see. I just was curious.
Mm-hmm.
What is cyber liability?
Cyber liability coverage is coverage that will, I have a stack of paper on it. It offers various different coverages. It covers things for like the legal liability of us having private information, social security numbers, bank account numbers, all of those things, taking credit card payments, all of that. It covers cyber extortion. In the checking that we've done with some other communities, there have been other communities that have had their files encrypted and they're not able to access that data until they've paid a fee.
So would it pay that fee if we had that insurance?
Yeah.
We'd have certain coverages.
Yeah, we'd have coverages for that.
Coverage amount.
It also has a multimedia coverage built into it for the Facebook pages, all of the different social medias that we use, televising our commission meetings, those kind of things as well. So they're recommending that we have that kind of coverage because a lot of the insurance policies are specifically excluding that from the coverage that they used to have. So that is something that we're looking into.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
And just for a note, that portion, from what we've seen, will still be under what we've budgeted for insurance for the year.
10% increase savings can be applied to.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
About $26,000.
I move to approve Resolution R 1659 for adoption.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Mayor Powell and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-16-59 for adoption. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Powell.
Aye. All right, Resolution R-1660, a resolution to execute a contract with Mueller Construction for the demolition and disposal of 5 structures in the city of Coffeyville. Code Enforcement Officer Tammy Dixon will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I'm Tammy Dixon, City of Coffeyville's Code Enforcement Officer. I'm here this evening to ask that a contract be awarded to Mueller Construction for the demolition of 5 structures within the city limits of Coffeyville.
Okay. You're aware that the city and the commissioners, are you aware that, I think Jim Beechner's here today and his wife? Are they here? Okay, back there. We have a little discussion about that. You're aware of that, aren't you, Tammy?
Correct.
Okay. How do we want to approach that staff or council or Cindy. Mr. Beechner called me, he's talked to some of you guys. What do we do here? We understand that there was a 10% savings with this. Jim, you want to talk about it too?
I think Paul could do it.
Okay. Are you aware of the situation, Paul?
Well, yes, I'm aware that the staff is recommending that you not go with the low bidder because of some issues that have been experienced with the low bidder.
Right.
I don't think it's appropriate to go into the details of the prior experiences with the low bidder.
Okay.
If you want to go into the details, if you want to hear about that, I think we need to go into executive session for that purpose.
I have a question on that, not
Sure.
to interrupt you, but under what criteria does that
The
present
attorney-
an exclusion for executive session? And the other thing is that we're not the one contesting the recommendation. Obviously, someone else is.
That's right. I mean, if you want to go into the information as to why the city staff is recommending not going with the low bidder, then I think those reasons ought to be discussed in executive session under the attorney-client privilege. Just on the possibility that the low bidder may make some sort of a legal claim against the city. There's no reason, in my opinion, to discuss that. You've got the proposal, the recommendation from city staff. Mr. Beechner can come up here, if you recognize him, before a motion and a second is made, to come up and say whatever it is he has to say. Our public speaking guidelines do not call for a discussion at that point. You can certainly ask questions, I suppose, of staff at any time. But as far as the low bidder's dialogue with the commission, his time would be once you hear from the staff and before a motion is made, you ask for any other comments from citizens, and he could come up and address the commission, and that would be the appropriate time for him to do so. But again, if you want to get into a dialogue, the public meeting is not the time to get into that dialogue. That's what I would recommend.
Okay, so if we go into session, we can take our city staff in with us that understand the situation?
Certainly,
When
yes.
would be a good time to do that?
I think after you hear from Mr. Beechner, if he wants to address the commission, and if you have questions at that point.
Okay. Okay. Well said. Anything else from
Can
anybody?
I ask one more question? A motion to go into executive session has to have a motion and a second, and and a majority of the commission vote to go into executive session.
Correct.
Okay, good point. Thank you, Chris. I probably forgot that. So now would be the time to ask if there's any public comment, correct?
To hear from staff.
Okay, I thought we did.
I'm sorry.
I don't have a
Did you
question.
have anything further?
questions.
I don't have any questions. It's my understanding that staff recommends that we go with the contract, award the contract to Mueller Construction. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And now is the time for public. Mr. Beester, did you want to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up, if you will. Let you ask him his name and whatever.
Thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to speak to you this evening. And this is kind of like the last time. We bid the job for demolition work, and we came before the board, and the same thing happened. The staff recommended award to the next bidder, which was, I think, G&G at that time. And so I came and spoke to you then. I had like this paper here with like 10 reasons why I thought, that I should be awarded the job. And of course, the first one was, I think, because you save money. And I know you have this 5% preference where you have to win, you have to have the winning bid by at least 5% or more to even compete with a local contract. So As I walked into the bid opening that day, I had my bid sheet with me, and before I walked in the building, I cut another $1,000 off my price and try to be competitive and try to, to win here against the local competition. And some of those other reasons, were that I think there was a 10-day waiting period from KDHE before we could start the job. There was the asbestos reports had to be turned in, so there was like a 3-week delay before we could ever start. But yet time had been started. So that's what put us in this time delay and not having the job done by the end of December. And so we submitted letters and asked for more time, and at that time I think James said that he would allow, that the city would work with Millibit and allow some extra time because of the wet conditions that winter. The 2 winters ago, that was when we did this last job, and it was very, very wet that winter. We couldn't even buy topsoil to finish out the projects because none of the dirt in Coffeyville was dry enough. So I even contacted Paul Jackson several times to buy dirt, and he never could supply the dirt, which put us into, the jobs are done, but they're not done because we can't get dirt hauled in. So I bought approximately 50 loads from Mega and Independence, paid them $200 a load for that dirt to be brought over from Independence from his farm because it was dry enough dirt that we could put it on all the different lots and get the lots seeded and sold. I think we finished the job pretty close to around the 1st of March, I think, or towards the end of February, 1st of March, before we finally finished everything. We have 20-some houses. And by the way, I'm 60 years old, I have diabetes, I do a lot of this work myself, and I do enjoy doing this kind of work, and I work for all the cities around here. So I have a handout, I only have 6 copies, but maybe someone can share.
Thank you.
More or less what that refers to is this job we just bid on.
The front page?
Yes, this front page, where it just says that we're the low bidder on the 5 structures. Even with the 5% rule, I think we're over approximately 10% under. So we're saving approximately close to $4,000 savings our bid over the next bid. And after I heard, like Mr. Bailey said a while ago, you're trying to save money and apply tax dollars where they come to the best use, and here's a chance to save almost $4,000. And of course, I explained the reason why the delay on the last job was because, and it says right here that there was such a delay from the asbestos contractor to getting these structures ready so they could be demolished, and the paperwork required by KDHE that automatically throws you into a time delay. It was out of my control. We asked for time extension because of that, and we were turned down. At the same time, during the course of the project, I found out that many of the houses had never had the electric disconnected from them up until the 18th of December. But yet time had been started on me back in November. So how can they start charging time if utilities aren't even unhooked? That's one thing I want to point out.
Okay.
My jobs have always been, I felt like, done properly, as good as anyone else can do them. I pick up most of the debris that I can pick up before I put any topsoil down. I don't just go out there and cover everything up with 6 inches or 12 inches of dirt and save the hassle of picking up the wood and the rocks. I do that prior to putting the dirt out, which I think a lot of other contractors they fudge on that. They say, well, we can just cover it up with dirt and go on. I don't do that. I try to do a better job than that. I've completed several jobs for Coffeyville. My first demolition job, I think, was over 10 years ago, and John Huffer was my inspector. John and I got along really well. He asked me to come back numerous times to do other work here in Coffeyville, not just demolition work. I don't know if John's still with the city or not. I don't believe he is, but that was several years ago. And I've done a couple demolition contracts over the last 3 years. I've completed every single one. Every job had to be sold, which means it had to be to the satisfaction of the inspector, to the satisfaction of the city of Coffeyville, and we reached that point. Otherwise, we never would have gotten paid. It says here on the, where it goes down to submitted invoice to the city of Coffeyville. Well, the total of our contract for...
Where are you at?
I'm over here in the middle of the
Okay,
page.
I got you.
Bid packet 1, bid packet 2. I might point out, Moores did not bid that one packet that had the asbestos on it, but yet I did. And the difference in what our contract was, excuse me, and what we were paid, is $3,650. And the reason why that was because even though the wet conditions and the contract says that we're going to allow for wet conditions and more time, I was still charged $3,000 some liquidated damages on that last job. I didn't contest it. I should have, and I'll tell you the reason why. Not just because of the conditions of the ground and the dirt, that I had to import dirt all the way from Independence. But also, and I don't have copies of these, but I can show you. These are the bid packet 1 and bid packet 2 from the last bid. On this house on 302 North Ohio, see it says house? The rest of it says house and garage, house and shed, house and garage. This house on North Ohio had a house and a shed. And so I took out the house, and I was told I had to take out the shed, even though I didn't have that figured in my bid. Because it didn't say shed. But the city inspector said that has to go, and that's part of it, that's in the specs. I disagree. Over here, another one, on Beatty. There again, it says house. All the rest of you say house and garage, house and shed, house and garage. On Beatty, it just says house, and that's what I did. But yet I had to take out a garage for the same reason. You know, these garages are worth $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 a piece. Approximately the same amount of money that was withheld from my contract for liquidated damages. I don't feel that was fair to start with, but they overlooked it because I felt like I wanted to come back to Cottonville, not make waves, and do more work here. And I've always liked working in Cottonville. I've done several jobs, always completed every single one, including every single demolition job that we took on. Some of them, were pretty good size, big two-story houses, right next door to other houses. If we ever had any claims, the claims we did have were minor. I think a piece of siding flew off and hit the garage of one house and scuffed the paint. We went back and drove one nail and touched up the paint. We took care of it. Wasn't a major deal. Another place, a piece of the sidewalk got chipped and broke from the heavy trucks coming or the track will come in and out. There again, we went back and we set up for them. We poured a little bit of concrete and fixed it. Wasn't a major deal. Those are the only 2 claims I know about. And so, with all that information, and the main fact is that I complied with your own specification that you have a 5% preference for local contractors, and I more than almost tripled that. That would be a pretty good reason why I would ask you to award a job.
What is that percentage?
5%.
I know, but what is it on this number? His number of 24,600 on this particular bid to the next low bidder of 28,350. What is that percentage? Can you calculate that? It looks to me like it's about 14%.
It's higher. It's more like 18.
Well, that's why I was asking her. I'm not a math guy.
But I do want to point out, I did not come back and ask for those liquidated damages. You know, I didn't want to make waves. I didn't want to have a hassle with the city, so I just let it go and I paid it. It came out of my contract. When in fact we should have not been charged liquidated damage. In fact, we should have been paid for those 2 garages we took out, and we should have had extra time added to our contract for that. And then there wouldn't be this discussion tonight. So I feel like I didn't do anything wrong. And that's why I came tonight to at least defend myself, even whether you award the job to us or not. I'm not going to. He mentioned that I may come back with some legal force, but I have no intention of that at all, and I'll tell you right now I don't. Whether you award to me or not, I have no intention to pursue that at all. Just here to come here to ask if we can do the job for you. If you would have us do another job for you, like we've done in the past, and complete, just like we've done in the past, to the last dotted I and crossed T. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
For how long?
15 minutes. I don't think it'll be that long, but what are you thinking, guys?
Not to exceed 15.
And not to exceed 15.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Mayor Powell to recess to executive session for the discussion of items that would be deemed privilege in attorney-client relationship to return on or before 7:25. Commissioner Castler?
Aye.
Mayor Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
No.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye. We go now? Now's the time to go?
Now's the time.
All right, I move to approve Resolution R1660 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Powell and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve Resolution Number R-16-60 for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Mayor Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Jim and Ms. Beechler, we appreciate you guys coming in anyway. Thank you.
All right, Resolution R1661, a resolution to execute an agreement with KHA Intelligence Group to provide data conversion services for the city of Coffeyville. IT Director Chris Felix will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, good evening. The city has a fairly old server that we house over at City Hall. It's a IBM AS400. We've had it since '98. Most of the records that pertain to finance, utility, had been converted over in 2005, but there are certain records on there for PD, court, that for whatever reason they decided to leave on there. I wish Quinn was here so he could better answer that, but we're required to maintain some of those records for at least 50 years. I included that administrative order in the staff report. But basically, we have a server that we pay hardware maintenance on. The hardware maintenance is getting more and more expensive, and nobody really knows how to get in and operate the box other than do some simple lookups, things like that.
You know how to do it?
It's a mess. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to get that data off and put it in a usable fashion that then we can tie into the database servers that we maintain, and we can also back up in our redundant backup setups. We've gone through, we've talked to several different companies on how to do this. The programs that are on this AS400 are unique. They're a little difficult to work around in, especially for police and municipal court. They're called directories or instructions on how to get into these files, and those particular programs don't have those instructions. So getting in and pulling the data that we need is very difficult unless you have somebody who specializes in that. So before you is a quote for services to migrate that data for $6,500. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you may have.
$6,500?
Yes.
Oh, that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
These things come up, okay? I mean, part of doing business. Where does that money come from anyway?
It will come out of the police department's VIN fund, the VIN fund.
And with the maintenance that you're currently paying, you'll have a return on this in 3 years.
Yes. And like I said, it allows us to then put it in a usable database that we can do whatever we want to with, and we can back it up appropriately. Right now, we're doing tape backups, and it's a nightmare. So.
Okay.
All right, I move to approve Resolution R1661 for adoption.
Second.
All right.
Motion was made by Mayor Powell and seconded by Commissioner Castler to approve Resolution Number R-16-61 for adoption. Mayor Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, Resolution R1662, a resolution to approve the 2018 Geometric Improvement Project proposal for BG Consultants. Engineering Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioner. As you know, the city was awarded a 2018 KDOT Geometric Improvement for the intersection of 11th and Willow. We put together a selection committee after sending out RFQs to, I believe we sent out a total of 8 engineers as well as put it on our website. We had 5 responses. Out of those 5, we selected 3 for interviews. Out of those interviews, the selection committee selected BG Consultants as the best qualified. We then proceeded to request their proposal, which I have attached in my staff report. This proposal has to be approved by both the city and the state. So once we approve it here, it goes to the state for their approval, and then they'll issue a notice to proceed while KDOT actually forms a 3-party agreement with BG, the city, and KDOT Transportation. Jason with BG Consultants is here to answer any questions if you have any, and I'll be happy to answer anything I can.
Well, he's here, you might as well say something.
I'll be brief, because I know you probably have a lot of business to do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Jason Hoskinson with BG Consultants. Just want to say thank you to city staff, to the city. Really looking forward to this opportunity. It's exactly the kind of work we do day in, day out. You know, we're here to help you have some success in your project. You know, provide a good product, end result for the city of Coffeyville.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I move to approve Resolution R-1662 for adoption.
I'll second it.
Who seconded?
I will.
Motion was made by Mayor Powell and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-16-62 for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Resolution R-1663, a resolution to execute change order number 2 for electrical installation with CCC Group for the electric utility. Director Gene Ratzliff will make comments.
Mayor, Commissioners, the CC Group was awarded the contract to put in all the electrical construction. Since that has happened, there have been a few minor changes. They've had to add some additional work for equipment grounding, additional lighting, some electrical wiring, some lube oil tank heating, wiring, and some revised cable trays, and upsizing some cables to some of our RTUs and batteries. This amounts to $11,729, and staff recommends approval.
Questions?
Having questions?
I don't think, I guess it's just something wasn't in the original deal.
No, but there were some changes had to be made. When you go out for bids, after you've already designed it, some of the equipment comes in different than you thought, which requires some minor changes. And that's what it's mostly about.
Sure.
All right, I move to approve Resolution R-1663 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Powell and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-16-63 for adoption. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Mayor Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
All right, Resolution R-1664, a resolution to execute change order number 5, site preparation with UCI Incorporated for the electric utility.
The new generation project was originally thought to be tax exempt in a lot of areas for equipment and construction and some of the contracts. Much of it was, but some of it was not. And so these were all bid with the idea that there was no tax to be paid. So as a result of further study and things we've learned since we originally looked at this, we've had to write a change order for taxes. And also, this also includes about $4,500 for some additional site preparation work they did. So we recommend staff recommends approval of this change order number 5 for $77,446.65.
There's just no way to know that wasn't going to be ahead of time? Like, it sounds
Well,
like...
when we first talked to the state, they gave some general guidelines. This is tax exempt, this is tax exempt, this is not. But then when you break down the project, there's pieces of it that are taxable. For example, one comes to mind is anything to do with lighting or the fire pumps and the fire protection system, security systems. Those things are taxable, and that wasn't explained to us originally by the state.
So new construction is taxable? What's that falling under? New construction, I mean, what?
Well, some of the new
equipment?
A lot of the new construction is not taxable, but some of it is. Depends what it is. If it's got nothing to do with generating electricity,
Anything
that's not taxable.
Right. Anything that goes directly into the production of your product.
Yeah, that's
is
not taxable, like the engines and some of the other stuff.
Out of the 77,400 and some odd, how much of that is taxes versus the site preparation?
All but about 4,500.
All of that is taxes?
Except for 4,500.
Except for, so the additional site preparation was about 4,500.
Right.
All that other is the taxes that
Right.
were.
For this project.
Well, can't not pay them, so. I move to approve Resolution R1664.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Powell and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-16-64 for adoption. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor Powell.
Aye.
It's a moot point at this point, but how much of that was federal and state taxes? Was that all state?
That's all state taxes.
So we get it back.
No, because this is being built in the county, and that's the county tax.
Okay.
There's no city tax.
How,
One other item I'd like to mention is that today, about 10 o'clock this morning, our engines for the new project were spotted on rail cars in McAllister, Oklahoma. They expect them to be here sometime tonight or in the morning. I've gone there twice already this afternoon. Still not here.
Thank you, Gene.
Gene, how's the project going?
It's going well.
And the
Still on
engines,
schedule to be today.
the engines will be moved, what, the 20-something in about a week?
Yeah, they were supposed to, the original schedule was for them to be here next Tuesday, and they're about a week ahead of schedule, and then they were going to start loading them on the 20th and moving them one at a time. So I don't know whether they'll still move on the 20th or what. We haven't heard.
We received an email today that they'll still be scheduled to move on the 20th for the first one, so about 3 days worth.
All right, we'll now have an economic development update. Assistant to the City Manager, Tricia Perdun, will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's been a while since you've had an update on what we've been doing economic development-wise in the city. I just wanted to give you a general overview of some of the big projects we have going on. We get a lot of questions every day about, what's going on with Amazon, what's going on with Southwire. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what's going on. Montgomery County Action Council, the city, and the chamber have been working extremely hard over the past year to obviously fill both of those buildings. Amazon.com building to get started. They are being represented by a new real estate firm now. David George with NAI Martin is no longer the realtor on that account. Kendall, Aaron Heckman, Stacia Meek, and I met with them a couple weeks ago to just go over their updated marketing materials, give them some basic background of Coffeyville so they could really make sure they were targeting correct businesses that would really fit our community and our demographics. The building's also going to be up for sheriff's sale soon, so we've been putting extra effort towards marketing that material. We want to make sure that the companies that we've sent mailers to, we've called, we've sent LinkedIn messages to, everything we could think of, know that it's going to be going for a much lower price than the $19,900,000 possibly. We also sent updated packages to 120 of the companies received that we had from the Whitaker list that the city bought about 6 months ago. We got several receipts and a few responses, but not a lot of feedback thus far, but that's kind of how it's been. We also have followed up with the projects of companies that have come down to look at it. There was a company out of Kansas City and one that was actually out of Canada and a couple others that we followed up with to make sure that they knew, hey, the price potentially could be much lower than it was when you looked at the building. So we have spent a lot of time in the last few weeks just really upping our game on marketing that building. And the updated realtors have been very helpful in that. Southwire, we've had a lot of interest on Southwire. Unfortunately, we've been able to secure a buyer for the building. However, the price has gone down again, so that helps our cause. Southwire has lowered the price pretty significantly. They're also very motivated to sell now. It's been vacant. They officially got all their equipment out now. I think it's been about 6-8 weeks ago. So the building is completely empty and very, looks very good for showings. That should help our cause a little bit also. One of the things that we've had experience with Southwire is that since we've had a lot of interest, we haven't been as proactive in trying to recruit someone else, because we had offers, we had companies looking at the building pretty regularly. That's dwindled to pretty much nothing at this point now, now that those other businesses have stepped away. We did put money aside for Whitaker contact list last year in the budget so that we could do this again with Southwire if we felt it was reasonable to do so. But we wanted to wait on Southwire since we were getting some leads on that. Now that those leads have kind of slowed to a stop, we're ready to go forward with hiring Whitaker Associates for another $5,000 for that list. The good part of that is that would provide us 100 leads for manufacturers that we could recruit that specifically would be targeted for our region. They would be manufacturers that are looking to either come to the United States from abroad, reshoring, companies are looking to expand, companies in our region looking to expand for other locations. I spoke with the realtor from Colliers today, told him that's what we were looking at, and they said that's far above what they're even capable of doing, so that he would definitely recommend us taking that leap. Just like last time, it's $5,000 up front for that list, which we get to keep, which is very nice data. If God forbid something ever should happen again, we would still have that list for businesses looking to expand and open manufacturing in the Midwest.
Trish, is there a source to advertise big buildings?
Yep, they post on LoopNet. The realtors themselves.
LoopNet?
LoopNet.
Okay.
That's the general database for large commercial real estate.
Okay. So who, the owners are going to want to do that, aren't they?
Yeah, and they do. Both of those buildings are on LoopNet. They're being advertised. It's just, we want to be more proactive than just letting a realtor take it and contact whoever they want. We know our community better than they do. We know our other businesses. We know what has worked really well in Montgomery County and Southeast Kansas, where some of these realtors, Southwire is in Atlanta, Georgia. They don't really understand how our market works or the value of our property in Kansas versus Atlanta.
I don't know that I'd want to spend the $5,000. You know, maybe we do. I don't know. Have you had a conversation with the owners of the property? I'm sure you have.
Multiple conversations.
And aren't they doing that? It's their property. What are they doing? You say they're putting on. I'd like to know in brief what they're doing to sell it, because I don't really see it as our job to try to sell it. You know, I don't quite think I'd want to spend my $5,000, but maybe the rest of the citizens would disagree with me. But I'd like to know what they're doing. Is ours just overlapping theirs? Is it a good investment for us?
It's very different than what they are doing. It's a different approach. Like I said, I spoke with Colliers today, the broker that's working with Southwire. It's their hire, not ours. Told them this is what Whitaker would offer us, the tailor-made companies that are looking to expand. Theirs is just the general contact list. They contact every manufacturer in the United States, internationally, that they have contacts with Colliers. Colliers is a big company. They are a very large real estate firm. But again, I mean, the main broker is in Atlanta. We have a local broker in Kansas City. But, you know, no one knows our community better than we are. And that is our job in economic development. I mean, we are tasked to recruit businesses to create jobs in our community. I mean, the commission has made that a priority in the past, of making sure that we are actively trying to recruit businesses and create jobs in our community. Just setting aside and letting a realtor take that job and take that responsibility, in my opinion, means that, you know, we're taking a step back from doing economic development.
The $5,000 for a list like that comes out of the budget for economic development.
Correct. Yeah, and I have it budgeted in the sales tax. It wouldn't come out of the 2.3. It would come out of the budget. that was already approved this past year for 2016.
And they're not willing to split that cost among the realtor?
I have spoken with them.
That's a good idea. I like that.
$5,000 up front would be on the city. If one of these leads happens to be the one that is purchased, a buyer comes in, the $7,500 fee after that point, which is all we have to pay them if we actually get a buyer, the realtor would be willing to participate in covering that fee. So
I think we ought to see if they do pay the whole thing.
So we buy a list.
We do the five.
Right.
And if something happens from that list, then we got to pay Whitaker $7,500?
Yeah.
Why don't we see if they'd pay the $7,500?
It was all going to depend, we've spoken with them multiple times, it's all going to depend on if they get a buyer. And they're not willing to sign anything until we have an actual buyer on the line. And we started having those conversations when we've had two that have approached the city. They were willing to have those conversations, but not until they got something on paper and an actual offer.
Okay, you guys do what you want to do, but I wouldn't do it. I think the best thing I'd do is get them a letter and say, we're willing to put $5,000 and work it, and if we get it, you pay the $7,500. If they don't, I'd walk away from it. That's what I'd do. You guys do what you want to do. I'm not quite into.
We're not being asked to do anything, right?
Yeah, spend $12,500 to help them sell their building.
We're not being asked to do that.
We're not being asked to.
That's what you're saying.
No.
No, we're not.
This is just an
No.
economic development
Yeah,
update.
just an update.
She just mentioned a tool that could possibly be used in the future, but there's nothing on the agenda tonight about.
I would say, though, that in the 8 or 9 months that I've been here, to my knowledge, we've had one prospect through Colliers, and all the other activity has been created through the city responding to project inquiries. And the
more regional, local, regional kind of deal.
Department of Commerce.
Department of Commerce, and we have, we've applied for put in our bids for those sites. The other one, they've had an investment, to our knowledge, one investment company who has made an offer, and that was within the last 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But that appears to be dead, and it was just an investment group. It wasn't someone actually looking to move a business in.
So you're thinking about doing this $5,000?
I would recommend that we do.
Okay.
It's already been approved in the budget.
Okay.
The money's already there. We set it aside specifically for this purpose. The $5,000 and the $7,500 just in case we don't get a realtor signed on. It's in the economic development budget for this past year.
Yeah, I'd make the recommendation again, make it clear, that I would get them a letter from the city, if we want to do that, okay? Just to say, we're willing to spend $5,000, and then we work the list, right?
Correct.
We're
Yeah,
also
we share it with
giving
MAC and the
resources,
chamber.
your salary resources to work it. And we'd like agreement with Southwire, if it does sell to one of those people, in one of our contacts, you would pay the $7,500. If they don't do that, there's something wrong with it, okay? There's something wrong with their attitude. And that's my opinion. I'd jump all over that deal if I owned a building out here and the city was willing to spend $5,000 up front and work it. Okay, but anyway, enough said.
Would you jump all over that deal?
Yeah, that's what they ought to do.
Would you?
Yeah, I would.
If you had a building that was in the city?
You bet I would. You bet I would. And out here, yes.
City would.
I'd do it. I'd do it, Sheriff.
Easy now.
I think you ought to try that real quick. I think they'd do it.
Okay.
I think the owners would do that. I think it'd be worth a quick try.
I think that we ought to contact them. I agree with Jim.
Okay.
That we ought to at least explore that possibility.
Absolutely.
Because in reality, all they can do is say no.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I can email the realtor tomorrow morning and have them draft something together that we can put some sort of agreement put together, if it's split or a full cost or whatever.
We can
they
hear an
want.
update on that later.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Did you have more to your report?
Yes, one last piece of our economic development plan is, well, two pieces, I guess, left. Transloading facility, just a quick update on that. We met with Kansas Secretary of Transportation Mike King last week and his staff, regional and Topeka staff. We wanted to make sure they understood where we were headed, transportation-wise, economic development-wise. We were awarded that $1 million for the Acme expansion and the road improvements for that. Wanted to make sure he knew that it's actually happening. Acme's building is going up. It looks really great. We also discussed the budget cuts that they're talking about. We heard that our geometric improvement project might be on that list for cuts. He reassured us that it wasn't, so that was nice to hear. We also heard more about when we submitted for the transload proposal this past fall, the pros and cons of why we were and were not selected to go to the very final stage of that process. We got great feedback. We were able to get everyone at the table, Watco, our city staff, county commissioners, and his office to really talk about what we needed to do for the next plan for the proposal. He was all about Coffeyville having a transload, but we just need to make sure that we get some things done in the meantime before the next proposal comes forward, so we can make sure we actually are a contender this time.
I'd like to, and I don't want to hear, but I'd like to know what we need to do, what his suggestions were. And I would prefer to have those sent to us electronically so we can at least look at them and keep them in mind of what we need to be looking forward to.
I can put that together in a report and send that out to you.
That would be great.
He also indicated that late spring, early summer, that they would be hosting probably a webinar so that it could be seen statewide to talk about the lessons that KDOT has learned through this process. Dealing with railroads is a little bit of an unusual animal, so to speak, and so they will also be making their presentation, and when that's available, we can make you aware of that as well.
Who's making the presentation?
It will be Secretary King. His office will be putting that together.
So we'll give you the feedback of what he told us from this last meeting, and then when that webinar is done, we'll send you any additional information we might learn from that, because that'll be a more broad picture of what we need to do and prepare for. Lastly was retail recruitment. We're still preparing for the annual retail conference in Las Vegas this summer. We have received several proposals from data analysis companies and marketing companies to help better market our retail when we go to this conference. Like I told you before, there's about 200 booths for retailers, and there's about, well, as of right now, there's 35,000 attendees at this conference trying to get the attention of those 200 retailers. It's very challenging. We've received proposals from R360, Retail Coach, Retail Strategies, Retail Attractions, and Buxton. You heard from Buxton 2 weeks ago. One of the things that I heard from you at that presentation was one, that the cost was much too high. And the other is that we had very bad experiences with a consultant in the past that did this service. When I spoke with these other companies, knowing what we've learned from the last presentation, we let them know that we don't necessarily need a consultant to go out and market for us, but what we do need is the actual data, so that we can put that into some marketing materials, or they can put it into marketing materials, and then Kendall and I can go to Vegas and make our sales pitch. We know Coffeyville better than somebody in Owasso or in Atlanta or in New York or in Fort Worth. So knowing that these companies have adjusted their proposals, staff is going to go through those, evaluate them to see who really has the best proposal, bang for your buck, see what we actually can get from them, and then we'll bring that to you probably at the next commission meeting.
When is the date of this conference?
It's May 22nd.
And I'm assuming they've put out a list of the people that will be at this conference.
Yes, and I'm going through there right now and contacting everyone that I possibly can to try to get appointments set up for Kendall and I to visit with them while we're there.
Can we see that list?
It's massive. I can probably export it into a database,
Great.
however you want me to organize it.
Spreadsheet.
It's, like I said, there's 35,000 attendees, so it's going to be a big
just
list.
Just
No.
200.
You want the retailers that'll be there? Okay.
Yeah, we don't want the people, well, I don't care who's attending from Rochester, New York, I just want to know.
Okay. Yeah,
You're
I
not
can
gonna-
have it broke out by,
Tricia, isn't there a
companies.
link to that